Howdy everyone, this is Trisha and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I put together this fall wagon wheel wreath. It wasn't hard at all, it just took a little bit of time and I'll show you how I did that, so let's get to crafting. Alright, so for my wreath I'm going to be using this wheel. I saw this at Dollar Tree and I thought it was really cute, and I thought, well, you know, I've seen some people use it for wreaths, so I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and do the same, but I don't want to completely cover it. So that's why I decided to do a swag on the side, because I love the look of the wheel. It's a bicycle wheel wreath ring. Okay, so for this, I wanted to have something here. I was thinking about like a little gear or something, so I was looking around, you know, my husband's box of stuff, maybe a nut, or, you know, like a, you know, anything that I could put on here to give it a little bit more dimension. But then I was also thinking, okay, maybe like a little wooden ball if I don't find what I'm looking for, just something to add there. But I happen to have this one. This happens to be a lid for, you know, like a bottle of hot sauce. That's what it is. It's a little lid, and I buy this hot sauce very often. And recently I had been looking at the little lids and I thought, geez, you know they go through the trouble of making this little nice wooden lid. I need to recycle them, so I've been saving them. You know, I just wash them out and I've been saving them, so that's what I'm going to use, you guys. So anyway, we're going to move along because I am going to be painting that little wooden ball, and I grabbed myself some Waverly chalk paint and ink. So it's a black paint, and I'm going to be painting it. And I'm just going to use this little brush here, little sponge dabber here. And I think I might put some on the metal part. I'm not going to worry too much because it is already black. I don't have to do that, but, you know, I might just go ahead and put some on there just to kind of tie in the whole thing, since it's going to be like, you know, pretty much a matte finish from this chalk paint. So I just want to bring a little bit of that to here. Okay, let's get to painting this. Alright, so now that everything has been painted, I'm going to let it dry. In the meantime, we're going to start building our swag. Alright, so to form our swag, we're obviously going to need some floral. So here's some examples of some flowers and some greenery that I'm going to be using. So just pick out some items that will coordinate. Alright, so we're also going to need some floral wire. And here I've got this paddle wire. This is a 24 gauge wire. Okay, so I'm going to use this to also decide the length of my swag. So I'm going to go ahead and unroll a bit. Now, before I painted my wheel, I should have gone ahead and I should have measured, because right now the wheel is wet. But I'm going to go ahead and pull it over, and because what I want is a swag that goes around it on the side. Okay, and then I want like a little branch just kind of sticking out. I don't want to cover the middle. I don't want to cover, you know, pretty much all of this. That's why I'm saying I don't know if I'm going to use all of that greenery. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of wire, and I'm going to measure it, you know, like half of my wheel for now. And then I'm going to give it anywhere from, you know, 8 or 10 inches. So I'm going to cut that there. And then I'm going to need another little, like I said, another little branch sticking out right here. So I'm going to cut, I'm thinking maybe 10 inches and then, or less actually, and then I'm going to cut a little bit extra, so I'm going to give it another 8 inches. So I always give it, you know, 6, 8, maybe even 10 inches extra, because you never know. And it's better to cut a little bit longer, and then you just trim off excess. Okay, so now I've got 2 pieces of wire that I'm going to work with, and I'm going to go ahead and measure this around here one more time. It is wet. So at the very top, I'm just going to bend it right there. And that gives me a little mark of where I want my length of my swag to start. And I'll bring it around. And I kind of want it like about right here. So I'm going to bend that little end right there. That'll tell me, you know, the length, where the 2 little bends are. And don't worry about the shape of your wire right now. It's going to be all over the place probably. So don't worry about it. We'll shape it when we get it on here and tie it down. And then of course the little piece is going to go on here. We're also going to give it a bend to kind of mark our length of what we want it to be, so then we'll know where to place our flowers. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Okay, so I forgot to mention that we're also going to be using some floral tape. So this is just some green floral tape. Of course you can use a brown or white, whatever color you want to use, but you know, I'm going to go ahead and use a green. And then I'm going to also cut up about 4 to 5 inch pieces of wire, and I'm going to cut a few of them out, maybe like 6 or 8 for now. Get started with that. So we're going to need some little pieces like so. So I would just cut a few at a time, but do cut a nice little amount of them first, because you're going to be grabbing them, and instead of stopping to cut every time you need one, you know, you've got a few of them already prepared. But like I said, just cut maybe like 6 or 8 just to start with, because maybe that's all you need. All right, let's get to going. I'm going to be taking my first stem here, and I'm going to use this greenery. Now this is kind of big, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it right here, so then I can have 2 little pieces instead. So instead of having such a long piece, I can have a shorter piece like that. Okay, so I'm going to take that, and right here where I made my little fold, that's the length that I want to have. So I'm going to go ahead and put that first stem on there, on this wire here, and we're going to grab the end here that we folded. We're going to wrap that around that stem, okay, and just keep wrapping it all the way down nice and tight. All right, so then we can go ahead and take some floral tape, and with floral tape you need to kind of pull on it a little bit so that releases the adhesive on there. So I'm going to put that on there, start wrapping it around to cover up that wire. And you don't have to go all the way down, because you're going to put another stem there, and then you'll end up putting more tape, so you'll cover this end of wire. So don't worry about this little stem being exposed. We'll cover it also. Okay, so we just want to wrap a good nice tight, you know, 1.5 to 2 inches. Okay, so then we're going to grab our next item, and as you can see, I've already cut up my bush here of flowers, and I've cut some ferns, and of course this little greenery as well. So I'm going to take this flower. I really like it, but I'm not sure if I like the greenery. I'm going to take off the greenery. I feel like it might be too much. So let me go ahead and grab something like, okay, let's grab this one with a little pumpkin. I like this greenery. And I'm only going to cut about 3 to 4 inches of stem, maybe at the most, maybe 3 inches. So let's go ahead and put that one on first. And before I do it, I also bend it a little bit, because I don't want everything to be flat on top of each other. I want everything to have dimensions, so bend everything, okay? So I've bent this one, and this is where I'm saying you don't have to cover it, because I'm putting another piece on top, and that'll get covered, and will cover the other stem below it. So we're just building on top, and of course this is making everything thicker. So I'm rolling down the ends here, and some more floral tape to attach all of that, and pull it and roll it, and then pin, you know, press down on it so it sticks to itself. The tape does, and it'll wrap up really nicely. So here we go. All right, so this is why I took the greenery off of this flower, because I felt like there was plenty of greenery on here, and I'm going to put that flower right there. Again, let's trim off that stem. We don't need it to be that long. That already has a little bit of a bend. I don't know if I bent it when I was grabbing it, or it was already like that, but there we go. Again, we're going to wire it down just like that, and then tape it. Let me put this up close so you can see the wiring. There we go. And just tape it down, cover up all that wire. And then you're just going to work like that, keep adding little stems. It doesn't have to be in a specific pattern. You can, you know, follow whatever little pattern you want to, you know, use. You could lay everything and make sure you have enough flowers. So anyway, this is the start of my swag or garland, whatever you want to call it. And see, this is why they get bent, because then we can see them like that, really pretty. Everything has been being seen from the front rather than everything laying flat. Okay, so I'm going to continue, and now I can add some of these leaves. These leaves are really long, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim them. Let's see, right about here, and then I can trim off some bottom bits so that I create a little stem here where I can grab it from. That can get, you know, wire down. And I'm going to go a little bit lower now, because everything is very clustered up here. So I'm going to go a little lower, wire it down, tape it. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep adding flowers, adding greenery, you know, as I go along to build my swag. And it's a really long one, so think about where you're going to place everything on here. Don't cluster everything too close together, okay? So I'll be back, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this little piece. I'm just going to take a couple of little stems, some little leaves, put them on here, or greenery, put it on here and create the same kind of a garland effect. All right, so this is what I have so far on my swag. And I'm going to go ahead and stop right here because this is where I want that other little branch that's going to come out of it right here. So I've gone ahead and I started it just the same way that I did this one here. So I've got this piece and I want it to be about this long. It doesn't have to be that long. That's just kind of the idea that I had. But this here is sticking out quite a bit. So that adds length. So I can go ahead and shorten the length of down here as well. Okay, so I've cut out little pieces because I think on this one all I want to do is maybe add some little grasses. So I think I want to add this little piece here. So let's go ahead and add this. I'm going to get my fingers out of there so I don't cut myself. So I'm going to add that and this little fern and just create enough of this to make that length that I originally wanted, which was about 8 inches. So if I move that length like that, that's about it. So I don't have to add anything further down because it's going to get attached right here. So I'm going to leave a stem, okay? There we go. Just wrap it around. I'll refold it. I kind of undid my little fold there. And then this end down. And anytime you have a little sharp end sticking out, you know, and you've taped it and that little sharp end is sticking out, and believe me, I've already poked myself several times. So what you want to do is you want to get some hot glue and put it right where that little, you know, the little tip, little sharp tip of the wire is poking out. Put some hot glue on there and that'll help, you know, from, you know, you poking yourself. And then you could put some more tape on top of it if you want to, you know, make sure you keep that hot glue on there. All right, I'm going to continue building this, and again I'm going to mark it about 8 inches. So I'll make my little fold. So when I get to my little fold here, this wire that I have here, I want to leave some stem here. So this little wire that I have here, I can use it to wrap around the stems just like I did at the beginning. And look, this little bit is coming off here. Does it go anywhere? Actually, no, it goes somewhere else. All right, let's put it over to the side here. All right, so I did figure out where that little piece had fallen off of, and I went ahead and I put some hot glue. So anytime you have a little loose leaf or flower or something that keeps falling off, add a little bit of glue and then push it back onto the little stem where it fell out of. Okay, so I still have a little bit of length. Like I said, I could end it right there, but I'm going to go ahead and add this piece because I had been cutting this to, you know, put this in here, and I don't know what else. I had some pieces left over off to the side. I did also remove more of these larger leaves. I do like them. It's not that I don't like them. I just feel like, oh, they're too big. They might hide way too much. So I went ahead and I removed them. So this stem I had cut off from here to place this little piece there, and this little leaf can just slide off very easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of glue right in there and just slide it like that and just let that dry. And then of course I'm going to trim the stem because I don't need it to be that long. And then I'm going to go ahead and wire that down. Let's go ahead and do that right now. I'll try not to burn myself. I'm going to wire this down right about here. I don't want the leaves to be too high up. And then I could just trim the stem if I have to. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and use this piece of wire that I had folded over. That's why I want that extra length at the top. And then I want it at the bottom because I don't know, you know, if I'm going to need the whole length or if I can just use it to wire on here. So then I didn't need an extra little wire. So here we go. We can go ahead and tape that up, hide it, and now we're going to go ahead and attach it to that bigger piece so that I can go ahead and finish adding even more to that bigger piece to make it longer. I felt a little bit of a wire right now. I kind of got my finger stuck on it, and I see it. It's right here. So I'm going to add some glue right there. And then I'm going to tape way up here. Let's get that leaf out of the way. Getting glue on my finger too. So I poked my fingers and I burned my fingers. What else can I possibly do? Okay, let's wrap that up really well. Like that. And then to keep it from flopping around like that, I'm going to add a little bit of glue back here. And then glue it down to the stem and just kind of hold them together. So I put a little bit of glue right in there, hold them together, and then we have a nice little stem. I love these little leaves here. They're so pretty. And they're very curled, so I can't straighten them up anymore, but it's fine. I like them. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add this piece right here, but we're going to curve it because it needs to curve outward. Let me get this tape on there really nice. Okay, so I'm going to curve it outward like that, okay? And then we're going to go ahead, wire it, and tape it. And then we're going to keep adding some more flowers, just like we did up there on the top. We're just going to keep forming our swag. Okay, so this is a swag because it has some branches, so it's not just a garland. But, I mean, if you want to call it a garland, you can call it a garland. All right, so we're going to add this piece here. Once this is taped here, I'll go ahead and get another greenery or whatever else I decide that's next here. And I'm going to put that, you know, on there as well. So I'm not going to go like lower. I'm going to go right there because this is going to swing outward. So then right here is going to be a bald spot. So we don't want to start way down here. We want to start right underneath that one. We just wanted to make sure that we did attach this here. It's nice and wired, nice and taped. It isn't going to move around. If you have to put a little bit of hot glue in there to make sure that it stays in its spot, do it before you tape it. But right after you've wired it, and then start building until you get to the desired length that you want your whole thing to be. All right, so I have still this much more length, but I do want to put a bow on this wreath that I'm making. I think I'm going to place it right about here. So I've got this still left of length here, right here, this much. And so because my bow is going to take up a lot of space, it's going to be about right here. I don't need to put anything here. So all I want to do now is just end it with something shooting out this way rather than this way. So I'm just going to take whatever stems I want and put them on the end. And again, I'm going to use this wire that was left over in the end that I folded over just like I did in the beginning. I'm going to use it to wrap around my stem. Okay, so you just wrap that around, put some tape, add whatever little bit extras you want. I don't know if I want to add maybe another flower down here. I don't think I will because I am going to end it with a bow, but I think I will add this little bit extra and this little extra bit as well. So that'll be ending my swag right here, and then I'll have this space here for the bow. So I'm just going to do that. I think you got the idea of how I'm just wrapping it with wire, each little stem, and then wrapping it with the tape. If you have to add a little bit of glue there to kind of stabilize things, add a little bit of glue, then wrap it with the tape, of course. All right, I'm coming to the very end of this, and I'm just letting this tape be long enough to cover whatever remainder of wire is exposed. And then, you know, I cut it long enough so then I can come back down and make sure I get that all wrapped up. And this is going to be ready now to put on our little wheel. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm just cutting some more of these. So you can use chenille stems, okay, if you don't have, or if you don't want to use all your floral wire and you've used enough of it here, you want to kind of save it because, you know, they can be kind of expensive. So if you want to use little pieces of chenille stem, or even use those, what do you call those, tiebacks? Or what is that what they're called? Anyway, I'm going to cut some pieces of wire. And here we go. And now I'm not going to put anything, I'm going to put this on there yet because I don't want to knock it off when I'm adding things. So I'm going to go ahead and just start at some point and attach the top of my swag here to the wire form here, the wreath form, whatever shape you might have decided to use. Just put this wire here to tie it all down, or like I said, you can use little bits of chenille stem if you prefer. Yeah, because sometimes, you know, you're less likely to poke yourself. Now I like to put a little bit of hot glue just to make sure the wire just kind of just stays in place. So there we go. Let's pick another spot where we can, little flower came off, I'll glue that down. I'll find out where it goes. We're going to wire down here also. Just different little spots to make sure that it stays in the shape that I want it. So it curves around the edge of this wheel. And you can go in there and cover that up with floral tape if you like. I'm not going to. I just wanted to cover the majority of the wire, but these little bits of wire that I'm adding are not really visible. Okay, so now one down here to hold this spot in place. And then we're going to bring this one around, and we want to make sure it's right on the edge. So that's why we're wiring it down in numerous spots. I think I said that, but just repeating. So don't get mad if I talk too much. It's a tutorial, you guys. You know, you got to talk for tutorials. I got to say what I'm doing. You know, some people, you know, would like that. So that's what I'm catering to. So I'm gonna talk. Okay, so I'm just gonna stick this one in here because this one seems to be like kind of bare, doesn't have too many flowers. There we go. Just glue it there. And then just kind of arrange things. Now this little bit that I wanted to kind of, you know, come off to the side, I don't want it to cover right here. But I don't need to tape, I don't know. Do I need to wire that down? I was gonna say tape it down. I don't need to wire it down, no. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Now we're gonna make a bow for this little spot. So let me get my ribbon. All right, so I bought some of this burlap ribbon. You can use whatever ribbon will coordinate with your florals. I mean, it doesn't even have to be fall. It could be any season or just, you know, for whatever, a gift, baby shower, whatever. Just make it in those colors. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some, this is a wire edged ribbon, and that's what I prefer to use. You can grab a chenille stem, or what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut a nice long piece of wire, maybe about 8 inches or so in length. And I'm gonna start my bow. I'm not gonna give it a really long tail, just a little short tail, so about right there, okay? And then twist, you know, get everything pinched together and twist it, and then make your first loop. And then you can decide, is that gonna be big enough? Yes, I think so. So we're gonna pinch it there, twist, make another loop, bring it up, and compare it to the other one, and just make it the same length. There we go, right there. Pinch, and then just make as many loops as you want. This is a nice, thick ribbon. So if you have a bow maker or something like that to help you, because I mean, you know, your hands can get pretty cramped up with, you know, a really thick ribbon like this burlap. I think I'm going to do 6 loops, so 3 on each side. So this is the last one. Pinch it and twist. All right, so then I'm going to cut it right about right here. Wire it down. Like I said, a chenille stem would be good to tie a bow, because these little wires are so thin that sometimes, you know, you're like using all your strength to kind of pull it together and make it tight. And with a chenille stem, it's so much easier to grab it. It doesn't slip out of your fingers. So, you know, okay. So I'm just going to tie it a little bit there, enough to hold on to the loops of the bow. And then I'm going to fluff these up like that. Look how pretty that looks. Okay. So now I'm just going to cut my ends. You could cut them however you want, straight at an angle like that, or do a little dovetail cut here. There we go. All right, so now this is ready to be wired down, and I can just use the same wire that's on the bow. So that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to get the ends of that leftover wire and just kind of wrap them around like that. All right, there we go. And then just fluff up your bow however you want. I'm not going to fluff it up too much right here because I do have another little ribbon. I have this little ribbon. I got some at Hobby Lobby. I think they were 40% off the fall. And so I grabbed some little ribbons, and I just grabbed a couple. The other one that I grabbed, let me show you. It's really cute. Got these little orange pumpkins, but it doesn't really coordinate with this because it's a lot of orange on here, and it's not the same oranges that are on my swag. So I'm not going to use that one, but I am going to use some of this one, and I'm just going to make like a little multi-loop, little tiny little bow, you know. Just, you can't make the loops too big because they do flop, but because I'm going to lay it on this raffia, or not raffia, but burlap, it's going to hold it up right in here. That's all I'm going to do. Again, just 6 loops all together. So that was 3 on each side. Just a little bit of wire to tie it up. I don't need that long piece for this one. And I shouldn't struggle too much with this because it is a thin ribbon. Just gonna fold it up like that. Get it like that. And then the ends, just twist them together and then kind of roll them down like in a circular flat bit. Like that. See? And then you're gonna put glue on that right there. And then you just glue it down to the center of your bow. And see, that gives it a little bit of an extra texture, little color right there, so it's not so flat, your bow. Look at that. Let's move these items out of the way. All right, so now we want to go ahead and add our little center bit to our tire. All right, so I'm just going to be using my hot glue, but you probably want to put maybe a better glue, like a, you know, Gorilla Glue or any 6000. And this does have a little bit of a flat surface here in the bottom, so that'll catch some of this here. So I'm just going to place it right there. Okay, so now what I want to do is just want to look at my swag here, pull out my greenery, shape it a little bit nicer so that things aren't like all too clumped together, but at the same time it's also not like too spread out that I have little ball spots. But again, if I have any little ball spots, I would take some of my other greeners. So I'm going to take these large leaves like I showed you a little bit earlier, cut some of these off just individually like that, and then you can tuck them here and there. Okay, so I'm going to take like this big one here, some glue on it right under this, because I can see through the loop of the bow and I can see all that wire and tape. So I'm just putting that there. I'll do some on this side too because I can see some of that as well. So just wherever you can, you know, you're peeking through and you see something, just take a leaf. So that's why, I mean, sometimes you don't like these leaves within it, but then you come back and you're like, oh, okay, well, I can use them to hide any little ball spots. But they're not all clumped together. You don't have like a big clump of like really big leaves all clumped up together. Rather they're just, you know, separated. So then it looks a little nicer. And then you bring in that nice dark color that was in there. Okay, so I think that's it, you guys. So let's see how it looks. I can put a little, well, I'm going to use some jute or something to hang, you know, tie it on here or maybe right up in here so that I can hang it, or you can hang it right off from the wire here. Alright, so for now I decided to just go ahead and just prop it up against the wall. So I mean, you could do that, put it on a little table or a shelf and just, you know, have it leaning against the wall. Of course, probably don't want to put it up against something that's black because then you can't see the wheel, but you get the idea. I will take a picture of this hanging off on a wall so that you'll see it in the thumbnail and at the end here of the video how it looks on hanging off a wall. All right, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video and that you learned something. If you watched my video from last week, I did the same idea. I formed a little garland. This is basically it. It's just a little garland with a little piece hanging off to the side, so I'm calling it a swag. All right, everyone. I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up. And leave a kind comment down below and let me know what you think of my little project for this week. I hope that you enjoyed it once again. And if you haven't already subscribed and you're liking the content of my videos, please subscribe to my channel. You can just press the little red button down there below, and then you'll see a little notification bell. Please choose all so that you get notified of all of my videos as soon as I load them up. I don't only do crafts, but I also do some cooking videos, so I hope that you enjoy those as well. And as always, enjoy.